So some examples I think we had given. Is the slide visible? Slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, this is the one sketch that you are supposed to draw if it is required to explain this particular layout. Okay, that is first layout what we have discussed about the driveline system. You can cite some live examples which are evidently available. Okay, explore them. I told a few examples which are existing. Many of our models of Maruti and Hyundai, whichever that we normally come across as cars. Okay, so they are all mostly provided with such a type of layout. Okay, and then of course you need to explain engine. I told. Okay, then the clutch, type of clutch you can tell briefly about. Then the type of gearbox provided, speeds, number of speeds, and all that also you can briefly tell. Then the final drive. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the final drive now. This is the final drive where there is a pinion and a ring gear. Pinion and a ring gear is provided now, because no need to change the direction of the drive by 90° with such a type of layout. If there is a requirement of changing the direction of the drive by 90°, then bevel gearing will be required. Now simple gearing, no bevel gear requirement is there, because the drive direction and that of the wheels rotational direction, both of them are one and the same. No need to change the direction of the drive by 90°. Okay, so therefore a simple gear arrangement, pinion driving a large gear, which we normally call as ring gear or bull gear or something like that you can call, with some fixed ratio. So permanent reduction will be happening here, which is the final drive ratio. It may be 4:1, 5:1, 6:1, something like that, or 4.5, whatever it is. This is the number of teeth provided here divided by number of teeth provided here. That is what is the gear ratio. That is called final drive ratio, which is constant regardless of whichever gear that is selected over here. You may select first, second, third, or whichever gear here, depending upon the circumstances. This is constant. So overall gear ratio, you have already defined about OAGR, no, earlier. Did you come across this or not? OAGR. I think today's person, Mayuka Naik, I think your microphone is clear today. Fine, no?
Yes, sir.
Mayuka? Yeah, please keep it unmuted. And maybe one more also, those who are interested. Leon, his mic is also open, no? Fine. Glenn.
Sir, I'll just unmute when you ask for it, because if some noise comes, it'll disturb.
Okay, then one should keep it constantly that is unmuted, because I want some feedback. I want.
Sir, we'll give feedback, sir, but whenever you ask.
But one more I want. Glenn is there, no? You are Glenn, huh?
No, sir, I'm Mayuka.
Mayuka. Glenn?
Sir, he has a problem with his.
He's having problem with the mic. Huh? Then who else? Then again it will be Vibha today. Keep your mic unmuted, because time and again we need to interact. Vibha?
Yes, I kept it unmuted.
Yeah. OAGR. I think it's already defined earlier or not? Overall gear ratio. Others
don't
also
remember,
can.
sir.
Huh? Discussed about this or
transmission.
Huh? Yeah.
It was last time. We don't remember, sir.
You don't remember OAGR. So anyone can also tell if that is the case, or we have to, because OAGR is the cumulative gear ratio available. Okay, which is the multiplication of the gear ratio available in the gearbox, which is first or second or third or top or whatever it is, and this is constant. This is common. Okay, between the various gears which are available here. So multiplication of this gear ratio and the gear ratio which is selected by the driver, either manually or automatically, depending upon whether it is manual transmission or automatic transmission, that is said to be the OAGR. So that OAGR is that is achieved, and then it will be led to the road wheels. So this is what is the explanation that is pertaining to the previous layout when a gear is engaged. So some of the things I will just show this one, and you can ask any doubts as I am streaming all these things. It is self-explanatory. Secondary shaft, and through a secondary shaft pinion to a helical ring gear attached to the differential case. This is what I showed you. I showed that this is the secondary shaft while this is the primary shaft. Here is the shaft, that is the primary shaft, and this shaft is called the secondary shaft, wherein constant meshed gears will be there in the gearbox. And I told about single stage reduction that is taking place here. Secondary shaft is also provided with a helical pinion. This is the helical pinion which is driving another helical ring gear or bull gear, and hence drive is transmitted to the differential. That is what is illustrated here. Secondary shaft, and through a secondary shaft pinion to a helical ring gear. That's what is shown there in the diagram. Drive is then transferred through the differential gears to each of the half shafts which are leading to the right side and left side, that is wheels. I think if you draw the sketch, you should be able to phrase the sentences on your own. Maybe CV joints I told. Constant velocity U joints are provided, which are 4 in number, 2 each for each of the shaft are provided to make the drive being transmitted smoothly from the final drive gearbox to the wheels and tires. So that is what you are supposed to tell. So here drive reaches the wheels through transmission and final drive unit, which are put in one assembly, and hence it is known as transaxle. Okay, that is the transaxle. So what is transaxle is there. Even you can include that clutch also here. So the clutch together with gearbox together with final drive, all of them are housed in one assembly, which is known as transaxle. Okay, that is the main feature. And what happens is here the engine crankshaft, transaxle shafts, which are primary shaft and secondary shaft, which I have shown there. Okay, and the drive shafts, which are half shafts. All the three are rotate in the same line, in the same plane normally. Okay, and hence simplifies the final drive arrangement. That is the advantage of such a type of drive. Plus indicates that it is the advantage. Okay, so that is what you can tell about advantage of such a type of drive versus any other drives layouts will be this. It will simplify the final drive design. Simple gears I showed you, one helical shaped pinion, another helical large gear. So any other gear arrangement can form the final drive rather than complicated that hypoid or spiral bevel drive and all that. Okay, simple arrangement is good enough here to take care of maybe the drive being transmitted from the engine to the road wheels. And another advantage also you can say that it is more advantage, transmission losses will be less, because source, that is the engine, is nearer to the driving wheels. So therefore the losses which otherwise may take place if far away located are the wheels will be minimized. Okay, is that clear now? This is all explanation applicable for the layout that we have discussed as a first one, this one. I think all these things, I think we can reproduce easily. Is it or not?
Yes.
Vishnuvardhan?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Yeah, fine. So these are the things that you can rephrase in your own way, and you should be able to convince about the system. That is the first type. Second layout, we are now moving without wasting any time. Second layout now. First layout, front engine, transversely located front wheel drive. Second one is this, mounting the engine linearly now. Earlier it was transverse. Now it is longitudinal. That is what we call as north-south. Okay, north-south. Previously it was east-west. Now it is north-south located engine at the front. Okay, and in such a case the drive must be turned in direction by 90 degrees, because linearly located engine and our wheels will be transverse, and hence there should be the layout that should provide the direction change by 90 degrees. Bevel gearing is a must now. Previous case no bevel gearing, now Bevel gearing is a must. That is the main thing. Therefore, there is a crown wheel and a bevel pinion, where bevel pinion is the driver, where bevel pinion is the driver, okay, where bevel pinion is the driver and crown wheel will be the driven large, which is equivalent to the bull gear or ring gear what I told earlier, and the ratio will be the number of teeth provided here divided by the number of teeth provided here. Always this will be small, this will be large, always teeth wise or size wise, both. So is commonly used for this purpose, that is for changing the direction by 90 degree. This is the one that is used. You can draw this layout. With this layout you should be able to explain or illustrate the second case, second layout, that is longitudinally located front engine. Engine is located at the front of the chassis, then transmitting drive to the clutch, maybe some type of clutch, disc clutch, plate clutch, something is there, transmitting drive to the gearbox. Here the gearbox output is driving the pinion, okay, bevel pinion now, which is in mesh with the bevel gear, okay, large gear you can see, so that there is a change in direction by 90 degrees taking place here, 90 degree change. And from here it goes to the differential half shafts, which are provided with constant velocity U joint 1, 2, 3 and 4 respectively, okay, half shafts, these are half shafts, and then to the front wheels. So this is the front wheels, okay. So this is the arrangement, and explore some examples which are falling under this category also. Examples you can find out: longitudinally front mounted engine with front wheel drive. Features, if you are asked, you have to explain this diagram about the location and all that, and drive arrangement with regard to change of drive direction by 90 degree, and all those things you can briefly explain in one small paragraph. That is good enough. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Only you draw this figure and briefly explain. Neatly you put that boxes. It's only some block diagram. No internal details need to be shown as of now. Later we may ask for it. We will go for it later if required. But as of now, only blocks and telling about what is there and what they do in one sentence apiece. One sentence for this, one sentence for this, maybe one each for each of the other sub-assemblies which will form the drivetrain. Should I wait or shall I proceed? Yes. Should I wait or
Just a
shall I
minute.
proceed? Huh? Someone can.
So this is from the slide, sir.
Huh? Okay. So these are the advantages of both these two. Okay, holistically we can now say these are the various advantages of front wheel drive layouts. Maybe both that is previous and this. I think these are self-explanatory. I am highlighting them. The one which are made bold, you can take those as the keywords with which you should be able to tell. I need not, I think, explain. They are self-explanatory. If you want any of my explanation about that, please ask. Advantage 1, greater interior space available. Cost-wise, cheaper when compared to the other layouts, which we will take up later. Maybe rear wheel drive layout and all that. Cost-wise, it is better, cheaper. Greater fuel economy is possible. I told friction losses will be less. Okay, that's why there is some economy with regard to mileage and all that can be achieved. That's why many of our cars, small vehicles are all falling under such a category. Either the first, maximum first, rarely the second what we discussed today. Okay, where fuel economy is the criteria, normally such type of layout, particularly the first one, is preferred. What we discussed, cost, and these things, self-explanatory. Go through, and if you want any explanation, you can raise your this one voice. You can ask me. Otherwise, I think the moment you just read out them, some highlighting also I have done. That's why increasing the volume of the space it is available for the passenger or cargo. If it is a passenger vehicle, more passengers can be accommodated with such a type of drive. If it is a cargo, more cargo you can carry because occupational space available is little more when compared to the other type of layouts. Fuel economy and all that will be there. Okay, cost wise also it is cheaper because it will reduce the overall weight because many of the shafts and all that are not there, which will be there in the other layouts. That's why you can define. You have to justify, no? Propeller shaft and all those things which we discussed the other day are not here to be seen. Will you agree with this or not? After seeing the layout?
Yes, sir.
Huh? Yeah. So any
Yes,
weight reduction means there is a saving, no? Therefore, any weight reduction of the vehicle, there is a saving as far as mileage and fuel saving is there. So that's what improved drivetrain losses will be less, and hence mileage will be on the better side when compared to versus, that's what here I said, versus a rear wheel drive vehicle. When you compare with a rear wheel drive vehicle, these are the advantages that are there.
So,
Yeah.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
So, in front engine vehicles, it said that we don't have any drive shaft tunnel, right?
Mm.
Then why is there a hump in the rear seat in front engine vehicles, sir?
Why there is a
Hump in the rear seat.
hump in the rear seat? That is
Yeah.
not at all related to the drive system. Okay, it is not related to drive system. There may be provided some other accessory, some other system other than the drive. Understood? Again, it is not customary for every vehicle. Understood? Whatever hump that you might have seen, that is related only a particular model or a particular vehicle. It is not universally true. He might have provided some box battery or some other fuel tank or something like that, which is not related to our drivetrain. No, did you get the point?
Yeah,
Huh?
yes.
You have to observe that now. Now, why? Maybe there may be some fuel tank might have been located, or some other accessory might have been located over there. So, in order to facilitate that, maybe some tunneling, some this one groove, and all that might have been provided there.
Fine, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So then assembly efficiency will be better because it's a very neat and clean assembly. All of them, including engine and the final drive, they are all put together in one single cabinet also. So that makes the assembly very neat and clean. Okay. So that is a very good appearance. Aesthetically also it appears to be good, and that is another advantage when compared to the other drives. Slippery surface traction will be better normally. Placing the mass of the drivetrain over the drive wheels means, what I mean to say here is that much of the weight of the vehicle, because of all that powertrain, okay, will be falling upon the driving wheels now, which are the front wheels only. So which will better the traction regardless of the surface on which the vehicle is made to ply. So that is always beneficial. Better traction is always available, maybe even under slippery conditions. Okay, so there will not be any loss of traction. Chances will be very less. And finally, handling characteristics. Okay, front wheel drive cars with a front weight bias. That's what I said. Weight bias will be uh, much of the weight distribution will be such that it may be 60-40 or 65-35 percentage wise. Okay, when you take the gross vehicle weight of the vehicle, 60 or 60 more percent of the weight of the vehicle will be there on the front wheels. So that will tend to understeer the vehicle. Understeer the vehicle. For an average driver, always understeering can easily be controlled than the oversteering. Okay, so therefore normally understeering effect gives rise to or prone to less hazards or accidents. Okay, so Otherwise, maybe if some other layouts, maybe which we will come across later, may result in oversteering effect, in which case, suppose if the vehicle is flying at a very high speed, after some critical speed, it may be difficult for an average driver to maneuver or to take the vehicle back on the right track, which may result in some severe hazards, accidents, and all that. So handling characteristics are also desirable. So these are some of the features of the front engine, front wheel drive in general that we can say about. However, there are some drawbacks also when compared to the other version. That means rear wheel drive. Some of them are like this. Front wheels are both driving as well as steering, which will make the system complex. Both the systems are to be accommodated, okay, in the same axle. That will make the systems complex in design. Okay. However, weight reduces on the front driving wheels. Driving wheels are front wheels when going up a gradient. When you are climbing up a gradient, ghat or something like that, traction, because weight will be transmitted from front to back then. Some of the weight, not all, in which case traction available at the driving wheels may be decreasing. Again, it depends upon the steepness of the ghat and all that. More number of U joints, okay, will be required, special design to be used. Okay, so however, that particular way, maybe rear wheel drive may be simpler. Simple, only one or two joints would be enough there. In case of the other layout, this layout, only one. Sometimes even one is good enough, or maximum two may be good enough for the same cause. Okay, so that is the flexing action to be provided while drive being transmitted on some irregular road surface or something like that. So that is what is another feature. These are the minus points. All these are negatives. Okay, demerits. I can treat them as negatives when compared to the other type of layouts. Okay, so holistically, we have discussed the two systems, front engine, front wheel drive, two systems, their advantage, disadvantage, and essential features till now have been addressed. Is that all fine with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So at regular intervals, you should give a feedback whether are we going fine or something like that. I would like to know from your end. You should not keep mum from your end. You should speak out. Anyone newly joined? Rohan Jain, Mayaka, Vishnuvartan. Okay. Okay. Then your attendance is being taken meanwhile. Okay. Any issues are there till now?
No, sir.
Yeah. One more drawback is also there. You just see this. This is also self-explanatory. Go through this. Engine length is limited by space available. I told about complexity here. Okay. So therefore, yeah, means you have to go with small engines with such a type of drive normally because of the space constraint. Laterally, you cannot go with very lengthy engines. Space available is very less. You have to fix gearbox and then the clutch and then the final drive and all that within that confined space. So hardly you can go for 3 or 4 cylinder engines, not more than that. Unlike the 6 cylinder, 8 cylinder engines, which may be possible with this type of layout. That is another issue that is there. Okay, fine. Then one more drawback is also there, that is called, occasionally it is encountered in some vehicles, particularly high performance vehicles, where torque output of the engine exceeds this, or torque generator I will call. Okay, torque source, previous day I called that. If anything above this torque output from the generator, that is engine or motor, it may result in torque steer characteristics. Unknowingly to the driver, the vehicle may be pulled, okay, during sudden acceleration to the right or to the left. Such a phenomena is normally known as torque steer characteristics. Driver may not be steering to right or left, but instantaneously, if there is a sudden acceleration has to happen also, because of the large torque being delivered instantaneously, it may result in vehicle being pulled to the right or to the left instantaneously without to the knowledge of the driver. Not always, in some designs it may happen like that also, where very high torque output is there from the torque generator or the source. So which again may result in some accidents or hazards, okay, which may sometimes be beyond the scope of the control by the driver or operator. So these are some of the issues that are being seen in, maybe not in all, a few of these front wheel drive, that is driveline system layouts. So with these things, I think we are concluding these two layouts. Okay, and here is an assignment for you. Note down. This is the home assignment for you, and you should be able to present this as and when I ask you later. I will ask you to present this later. All of you note down. Okay, exercise for you. List the automobiles with such type of drives, what we have discussed so far. Five such models you have to pick. Contemporary ones, not the old. 5 models you have to pick. That is the assignment for you. List the automobiles with such drives, 2 drives what we discussed so far. You have to take some 5 different vehicles and then collect technical specifications of each transmission subsystem. Means what type of clutch is provided, okay, what are the dimensions of the clutch, then what type of gearbox is provided, how many speeds are available, manual or automatic, and then maybe final drive, what type of final drive is provided, whether I told no bevel pinion and ring gear type, or bevel gear type, or hypoid. In that also further classification, only you mention the type. That is what is the assignment you need to collect. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All of you should do this. Okay, that is the assignment which is related to the topic what we have discussed so far. To keep this ready, maybe sometimes I may ask you to submit also. All these assignments, finally I may ask you to submit as one assignment, which I will treat as one of the assignments for your regular this one only. So first question in the assignment which I may ask at a later stage to submit, to be considered as the assignment, maybe 3 or 4 some assignments we are going to conduct, maybe this. So first question is this. There is a small quiz for you to come out of that routine thing what monotonously I have been telling. You will you can take some fun out of it. It is not a very serious thing. Small quiz. You take your scribbling pad and pen and calculator. Small quiz we will do, each one of you, based on our general knowledge. Okay, general knowledge. We can go for it. You take this. A fleet operator schedules to replace the tires of his vehicle. Okay, note down each one. After the vehicle covers some this many kilometers. This is just you don't take very seriously. So just to bring out you out of that constant hearing mood, I am giving you one small exercise quiz. Okay. Operator wants to change the tires of the vehicle, his vehicle, after 28,500 kilometers. Predict the number of revolutions covered by the tires by then, performed by the tires, which are going to be replaced before it is scrapped. Now he is going to scrap them. He is going to replace them with the new ones. Okay, it is scrapped considering first case as a passenger car. Imagine that a passenger car, okay, whose tires are to be replaced after it has clocked 28,500 kilometers, considering it as a passenger car. Okay, and second case, considering it as a commercial truck. Two examples we are taking. So just think what you are supposed to do here. What any additional data should I give to tell you this number of revolutions you have to tell me finally.
So the circumference of the tire size basically.
Circumference will not be normally available. Any other related data I may give you.
Basically the tire size, sir, in
Tire?
inches.
Tire?
Tire size in inches.
Tire size means what diameter you want?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then that is one data I will give you. Passenger car, normally what is the diameter that you come across? Do you know? For our own
Sir,
passenger cars, how much normally?
Sir, I think it's 18 to 21 inches.
Let us go with mm system because inch you convert into mm, and can you tell me?
Sure.
30 around. I will give you take this
450
for passenger car. It is roughly around how much?
457, which is like 500.
Okay. I will give you radius. You take as 30 centimeter radius of the tire for passenger car, 30 centimeter. For truck you take normally commercially available truck and bus tires. What is the diameter? Even realistically also it is around 30 centimeter radius. Okay, you should know that. Anyway, for passenger car roughly. And for trucks and all, how much is the diameter of the tires? Large one. Standard size, no, it is. Trucks and buses. It is, you can take that as 1 meter. Diameter is 1 meter here. 1 meter tire diameter is 1 meter here. Here you take as radius as 30 centimeter. Each one of you note down that tire radius for passenger car can be considered as 30 centimeter. Tire diameter for truck is around 1000. It is 1020 actually. Even if you see your bus and truck, they have the standard diameter of 1020 mm. So I will give 60 centimeter is the diameter here. You can use any unit of your convenience. And here it is 1020. You note down. Diameter is 60 centimeter, and here diameter is 1020 mm. You use any unit and come up with the number of revolutions made by the tire, clocked by the tire before being scrapped. Is that data sufficient now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Common sense only you apply. No need to think very seriously. Even in real life also, this is what around 20,000 they will last, 20-25 depending upon road condition. They need to be replaced. Class is going on. Huh? Tomorrow. After 5:30. It's available with Malya sir. Yes. My number is there with him. Yes. Okay, someone have come up with the revolutions for the passenger car of the given dimension, tire dimension. Shaheen, any clue further required from my end? "60 centimeter diameter for passenger car, 1020 mm, 1020 mm. Even in reality also such is the case. You can have some minimum knowledge of each of these always. You can in order to design the driveline layouts, it may be helpful. Yes, someone there?
Sir, I got 2.52 into 10 power 10 revolutions for the passenger car.
Who is this?
0.52 into
Tell your
10
name.
power 10.
You tell your name.
Mayuka, sir.
Huh?
Mayuka.
Mayuka. You always when answering
Yes,
you
sir.
tell your names. So this is the step. Is it the same thing that you got?
No, sir, it's wrong.
See, 2 pi r is circumferential length into number of rotations what I want, n. Let n be the number of revolutions of the tire traversed before being scrapped or before being used for retreading, whatever it is. Retreading is also another way. So 1 revolution multiplied by that n. That should be equal to 25.8 that 28,000 this one meters is being converted. Kilometer is getting converted into meter here. Okay, then n you can find, or you can fit suitably, whether it is 60 centimeter or 1020 mm, depending upon the case. First case it is 60 centimeter. Convert that into meter, because I am using meter system everywhere. Be consistent, left hand side, right hand side, same system you have to adopt. R is 30 centimeter, which is equal to 0.3 meter. 0.3 you have to put here for the passenger car. Are you following all each one of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2 into pi into r. R is 0.3 you put for passenger car meter. N is the unknown. Find out n. Then I think will you end up getting this?
Yes, sir. Dimensions were dimensions were.
No, am I right here at least?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Like that you try for the other one also. Second case, truck tire being replaced after how many? Definitely it should be less than what it is for car. Is it or not? because larger size, number of revolutions should be smaller. Is it or not?
Okay.
Vibha?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How many could you tell me?
I'm doing it, sir.
Yeah. Rohan Jain should tell something. Rohan Jain. Yeah, be louder. You have to tell something. Don't sleep, man. Rohan Jain. I'm not hearing you properly. I don't know. There is some this one audio problem from your end. I'm not hearing. Yeah, I think Leon. Yeah, how much? Leon is having some problem with audio. Should I open my chat box? Then number of revolutions will be greater than this. How is that greater than that? Leon? Cannot be. Should be smaller, no? Because diameter is large. Number of revolutions.
Sir,
Should
he's
be?
talking about the previous answer.
Maybe. I don't know. But you people have to tell me. I might have been wrong, but your substitution, everything should be like that. Simplification you do. And you may correct if I was wrong. Was it not the case, this one? That many revolutions wrong? 15,127 roughly. Then what is the correct one? Or you had to keep as 0.3 first case, 0.3 radius. Vishnuvardhan.
But the answer for passenger car comes up to like 1,51 lakhs,
How is that?
19,720.
Is it so? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it comes in the order of 10 power 6.
28,500 this one. Okay, maybe I may be then wrong. Okay, that's true. Anyway, this is right. Substitution should be like this. Is it okay? I hear it may be wrong while calculating. This R should be 0.3. Then you will get that whatever. That is okay.
I'm not sure about my answer. I want someone else to see. Micah,
Huh?
what did you get?
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
like 15 million revolutions.
That is okay. Fine, man. It is
Yeah,
0.3 you
15
put,
million.
0.3. And in the second case, you put as 2 pi r. R will be 500 mm or
So that's
1020, I told.
9
510
million
mm.
revolutions.
Uh,
You get around 9,071,000 revolutions.
for second one, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe. Which is less than first one, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. 0.51 you have to put here for the second case. 0.51 or not 5, 1020 divided by 2. I think it is 500. What is that? You convert that into meter and put here.
So that is correct.
Okay, 0.5, I think 1 or something like that, no? Meter you have to put.
So I took the whole thing in millimeters.
Okay, fine. So, you should be able to get. So, this is what 30 centimeter and 500 mm, but you have in 1 meter always, and finally be able to tell. So, this is just to have some this one knowledge of tire which will be either serviced, which is called retreading normally, or otherwise replaced. Maybe this is what is happening. This will be the range, and depending upon road condition, of course, that actual distance traveled before being replaced may be varying. Other factors will also be there. Next layout, let us go with, without wasting any time. Second layout, third one, it is rear wheel drive layout. Third type of drive line system layout, rear wheel drive layout, where our engine is located north-south oriented one, with a clutch gearbox in the bell housing being provided, and then of course the drive shaft. The class is going on. Okay, call me. Understood. So drive shaft, maybe one or more in number, as I told the other day, depending upon the wheelbase of the vehicle. Depending upon the wheelbase of the vehicle. Is it clear? So here only representative figure it is, only one I have shown. It may be 2 or 3 also, depending upon wheelbase of the vehicle. I told if it is a car, maybe up to 1.5 meter, there may be a single propeller shaft or drive shaft will be there. If it is a longish wheelbase that is from here to here, then maybe 3, as is in case of buses, trucks and all that, where I told around 4 to 5 is Tata, Leyland and all these buses are having a wheelbase now. Okay, from here to here, our regular buses, city bus and all that, they will have 4 to 5 as standard wheelbase. You know, no? So this is the wheelbase, and that is around little more than 4 meters. In which case I told there are some issues with the critical speed and all that. So a single piece of propeller shaft cannot be adopted then. So in that case, normally they will go for either 2 or 3. Even 3 will be used. 1.51, another 1.5, maybe another 1, something like that. 3 plus 1, maybe 4 meter together. So with some couplings provided between here and all that. Some coupling will be here, some coupling will be here, and drive is transmitted from front to back. Am I clear now about this particular drive?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the one, rear wheel drive, front engine, north south located. This is how it actually looks. Many of our existing model of vehicles are of this type. You can see now, this is the transmission system, and there is one propeller shaft. It may be a pickup, maybe some type of pickup type of truck also provided. There is a U-joint, 1 or 2 U-joints are provided depending upon the design, if a single propeller shaft is provided. Then driving axle is here, live axle. It is a live one, and this is the dead or rigid axle. Okay, so north south located engine. Okay, so that is the feature, the type of drive. I expect you to show this block diagram, not any of this type, simple one. I expect you to show this pictorially and to briefly tell about each of the subsystem. Tell one sentence about this, one about this, one about gearbox, one about drive shaft, propeller shaft, U-joints, final drive with bevel gearing to change the direction by 90 degree, and differential, one sentence, why it is used, how it is fitted, where it is fitted, then half shafts, live axle. So this is what I expect you to do. Simple sketch, not pictorial views are not required. Simple 2-dimensional involving lines and small curves. That's all. Wherever necessary, you can show them. Instruments you have to use neatly, cleanly. You have to show them pictorial. Is that fine? Nayuka?
Yes, sir, it's fine.
Yeah, Nama Sumaid. Nama Sumaid. Shaheen. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you have to write a brief explanation as I explained. Okay. This is what. These are some of the keywords that you can use while writing about them. Some beam type of rear axle is used that assembles the final drive. Final drive is provided at the back now. You can see differential gears, final drive, some type, bevel type of final drive, bevel gear type is provided. So vehicles with independent suspension, suppose, are provided, have the final drive unit on the chassis frame and transfers the drive to each driving road wheel through drive shafts. Suppose if independent suspension is provided with such a type of layout. Vehicles with rear or mid mounted engines. Okay, suppose this is some special case where rear wheel drive is there again, where the back axle is the live axle. Okay, normally use a transaxle because all of them will be put together. It is similar to the one what we discussed with regard to the front engine front wheel drive. There are many examples that you can list. Rear mounted engine and rear wheels are being driven directly. Many examples you can use. Normally use a transaxle there because all of them are put together without any necessity of the propeller shaft. So wherever the shaft is eliminated, wherever power plant is nothing but torque generator or torque source, such as motor or our engine, clutch, then the gearbox, final drive, all of them cascaded together is said to be the transaxle. So this is how the drive goes normally from engine or torque generator. In general, we will call that as torque generator. It goes to clutch, clutch to gearbox, gearbox to variable velocity U joint normally. Here no constant velocity U joints are used, variable velocity U joints are used. From there it goes to either one single propeller shaft or propeller shafts. They may be single or more. Okay, singular if it is a short wheelbase vehicle, plural if it is a long wheelbase vehicle, depending upon the case. Then there may be another U joint also at the back end of the shaft, which will be giving drive to the final drive, which may be of any of these type, straight bevel type or spiral bevel type or hypoid type of bevel gear. Some type of bevel gear is required here. Simple pinion and ring gear will not do the job. Bevel gearing is required because of the north-south arrangement of the engine, location of the engine. From there it goes to the differential and hence the half shafts. Okay, differential and then to the half shafts, then to the final road wheels. This is how the drive line system will be passing the drive in such type of systems. So these are the self-explanatory, some advantage, disadvantage of such type of drives against front wheel drives. Advantages, first advantages against front wheel drive are all these. Front axle design is simplified because only steering system is provided there, no driving system. It will become ample of space is available. So accessibility and all that is easier. Even maintenance, overhauling, everything is very easy. Only steering will be provided, easily accessible. Much weight at the rear normally, which will help better traction being avoided while moving up a gradient, which was a cause of concern in the previous type of layout while moving up normally. Okay, now because of weight transfer that will take place from front to back while ascending a hill, okay, it betters normally the system. Traction will be better available at the driving wheels while moving up a gradient. There will not be any lack of traction, unlike for the front wheel drive category. These are some of the advantages. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Can I proceed? Others also should speak out so that because I will not be knowing at what this one, you should say yes, no, something whenever I ask. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, demerits. Some of the demerits against front wheel drive are these. Traction will be less while drive at driving wheels, that is rear wheels. Driving wheels in this case are rear wheels during braking, because during braking, you know, some of the weight will be shifted from back to front. That is called weight transfer due to braking. You might have heard about that in your automobile chassis and suspension also. I hope that you have already gone through that. So because of the weight shifted from back to front, there will be less traction available when a vehicle is braked. So stability may be affected of the vehicle while the vehicle is braked. Then propeller shaft or shafts, I told, joints, universal joints, more number will be there, and hence, and source to destination, which is nothing but engine or torque generator to the driving wheels, distance is more, and hence chances of some friction losses will be there. Okay, some slip losses and all that will be there. So more wear and tear would be possible because of more number of coupling joint, shaft and all that involved there. Maintenance required is also more. Maybe some noisy operation will also come out if you are not maintaining on the daily basis. Normally with such vehicles, at the end of the day, every day you need to lubricate all these coupling, shaft, bearings and all that. They will be more in number. If you go underneath the chassis of such a type of layout, you will come across maybe long wheelbase vehicle and all that. So you need to lubricate at the end of the day on the daily basis. Otherwise, noisy operation of the drivetrain will happen. Wear and tear will be more. They will fail if you don't maintain. No, they will fail within a few, uh, maybe thousands of kilometers or so. They will fail permanently. So transmission efficiency will be less. Obvious reason is there. Difficult to drive the vehicle when, okay, any one of the wheel, okay, will come across some obstacle such as pothole or some this one where some terrain is not there, pothole or something like that. In such a case, drive, of course, coming out of that this one rut will be somewhat difficult in this case. Okay, so because the whole of the weight of the vehicle will have to be pushed forward. Suppose if traction is lost due to some or the other slippery surface or something like that, in which case coming out of that will be somewhat difficult with such a type of drive. Because this drive pushes the vehicle rather than pulling the vehicle. So pushing the whole weight will be somewhat difficult rather than pulling, therefore. These are some of the disadvantages. Again, you take another question for you. Second question, assignment I will give. Which assignment number I will mention later. But you note down another question. Take list 5 vehicles with such a type of drive. Live vehicles which are now popular. You can take front engine, rear wheel drive. Front engine, rear wheel drive you take. That is north-south mounted engine. Front engine, north-south mounted engine. With all these things, you have to tell for each of the 5 models what type of clutch. Only one sentence is enough. Type of clutch and with dimension of the clutch, outer diameter of the clutch and all that. Gearbox, whether constant mesh, synchro mesh, manual, automatic, how many speeds are there? Speeds, how many speeds? 4 or 5 or 6 with gear ratio. What is the first gear ratio, second gear ratio, third, fourth, top. Top may be 1:1 or maybe overdrive. You just find out. Propeller shaft, what type of material used, and length of the shaft is one dimension I told the other day. What is the other dimension of importance for the propeller shaft? Other day I told. Can anyone please? What are the 2 important dimensions of importance while designing the propeller shaft?
Radius and length.
Yeah, one is the diameter, the other is the length. Length should be shorter while diameter can be broader. That's what. In order to minimize the whirling or whipping tendency of the shaft or to raise the critical speed of the shaft. This was explained in the last class. Will you all agree with that or not?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so 2 dimensions. you should find out for the given model what is the length of the shaft or lengths of the shafts, then diameter also. Diameter range also I think I had told generally available shafts. Did I tell or not that last class? Can anyone recall that? I told we cannot make it very big also.
30 to 40.
What?
30 to 40
Unit is
mm for
Centimeters.
no 30 to
mm.
40. Yeah 30 to 40.
radius for
Yeah 30
passenger
to
cars.
40 even mm. Okay, that is
Yeah.
not radius, means 3 to 4 centimeter it is. Maybe you can take, yeah, so that is what you can see. Our own lab is having such a layout. Once you visit the lab, you just have a feel of each of these things. Understood? Dimensions, everything, even tires, everything, whatever that I had told today, 1020. You just out of your curiosity, as and when you see, you should find out what is the diameter of a truck and bus tire, that of our regular car tire. All these dimensions are very important for our numericals later if we work, maybe in this subject or in the related subject. Final drive type, again, whether it is bevel pinion type or bevel gear type or pinion gear type or spiral, hypoid and all that, only type you mention. Only type you. I'm having a class now. Is it urgent? Tomorrow you can. Maybe now the class up to 5:30, but after that may not be. Tomorrow you see. Now its class is going on, man. Tomorrow you come in the morning. Morning, 10. Okay, final drive. Okay, final drive type you have to say, and maybe final drive ratio also, which is available in the maybe their website or some reliable source of that particular model, bulletin, service bulletin or maintenance, this one. Somehow you will get to know and you should be able to tell. Differential, what type of differential? Frictionless type or limited slip type of differential, torsion, lockable differential, what type? You just mentioned. Then axle shafts. Okay, what type of axle shafts are adopted? Solid or hollow, or in that also semi-floating or full floating or three-quarter floating type of axles that are adopted there. These are the things you have already discussed in some other core subject previously. I told these are the prerequisites. We need not again cover up them, but we should be able to make use of them as and when there is a necessity. Is that fine with everyone there? I am not asking you to explain, just mention the word or at the most one sentence. Good enough. Okay. Is that fine?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, fine. So next we will go to one more layout today. One more layout today, and maybe some more layouts we will take up in the next class. So all-wheel drive layout. Okay, that is the four-wheel drive layout, which typically looks like this. No need to show this, but you will draw a very simple schematic. So here is the torque generator. Here is the torque generator. Okay, then this is the transmission. This entire thing is the transmission. Then there is a transfer box or case which will divide the power. That is called power split device. Power split device, and it will divide the power equally to the rear and to the front. This may be the front, this may be the rear. Okay, power is split here and sent to the back and to the front also. So there may be two differentials here and here, at the back axle, at the front axle. Four half shafts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe two variable velocity U joint here, two more variable velocity U joint here. There is a final drive available here. Also, there is one more final drive available here. So this is the essential feature of a all-wheel drive type of layout. Okay. Four-wheel drive layout, essential feature. You can show this pictorially. You draw this. This is good enough. This is simple also. This is the engine, mid-mounted maybe. Okay, front axle, rear axle. Same thing is shown in 2 dimensions. This schematic you can easily draw and you can show. Wheelbase, wheel track, and all this. So I expect you to show this pictorially as and when there is a necessity. Propeller shafts are there. Four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Both the axles are live axles now. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Or should I wait?
So you can proceed.
Yeah. So key features you have to illustrate by a couple of or one sentence apiece. Transfer case is one. Other things you have to tell. I assume that you will tell. You have to start from here. You tell one sentence for this, one sentence for this, what this will do, where is that provided. One sentence you can provide for this, okay, what this will do, because we have already narrated these things. What is the function of this here, what is the function of this here, and all that, which is already uh, explained. That's why I have left that. Then you continue. Transfer case, power split device. I told about that. Differentials, maybe two or sometimes even three will be there. One mid will also be provided. One in each of the axles are provided. Okay, and two final drives are also to be there. Torque from drive shaft to the drive wheels. Okay, and universal joints may be more in number when compared to regular two-wheel drives, whether it is front wheel or rear wheel drive. Maybe our engine is now also located north-south oriented. All these are witnessed. Advantages. There are many advantages when you compare this against any of the layouts that we discussed so far, such as this. For off-road applications, normally these are the ones which are preferred, such as rough road, sandy road, and all these, boggy terrain and all. Rough road operation, snow, ice road, icy road and all. Because traction is available to the maximum extent at all the wheels of the vehicle. Okay, spread to four wheels so that the chances of losing complete traction, which may be there in case of front wheel drive alone or rear wheel drive alone, will be there occasionally. Sometimes you may come across such a situation, but this will be very rare. If front wheels have lost traction, at least rear will be having their own, and vice versa will be there. So which will make the this one, what is that, driving the vehicle somewhat convenient on rough terrains. Pulling away from standstill is remote. This is the third question you note. 5 such drives with specifications. Third question for the assignment. You take your time and prepare. Not today, it is required to be done. You take this question, live examples you should be able to illustrate. There may be some Mahindra models in our own country. There may be other Maruti models would be there. Earlier models, some Gypsy and all that. With some technical specifications, you should be able to tell. Other advantages are also there. Self-explanatory you go through. No need for me to, I think, explain all this. Just go through. Wherever any my interference is required, please ask me. Otherwise, I think these things you can manage. Go through. greater degree of driving stability will be there when compared to front wheel drive or rear wheel drive alone. So these are also called 4x4 drive normally for a car. For a car it is 4x4 drive. While the front wheel drive alone is known as 4x2 drive, or rear wheel drive alone is also known as 4x2 drive. So 4x2 against 4x4. So when the vehicle is climbing, so there is no much loss of traction, okay, when compared to front wheel drive. That's why at least whatever weight is transferred, it is available at the other live axle only. It is not totally lost. So it is better traction at the other axle at least, and that will cope up with the situation. Same is the case with while descending a hill, ascending, descending. So it will not make much of the difference with regard to the drivability of the vehicle. So these are the obvious advantages. High degree of traction to be maintained overall at all times. Finally, we can say. So high degree of traction when compared to 4x2 drive. Okay, whether it is rear or front. So this is the other issue that was there with rear wheel drive 4x2. Okay, digging out of the vehicle, out of rut or out of pothole or some this one, okay, will be a difficult proposition sometimes. However, in this case it is not so. Even if the vehicle is struck, some wheels are struck, okay, stuck in some maybe what we can call that as irregular surface or so, still you can easily come out of it, and then of course you can stabilize the system. Yeah, these are I think 4 or 5 very important advantages. There may be many more. You just refer the references what I have recommended you earlier. You can add a list. At least these 4 or 5 I expect you to maybe list, okay, as and when there is a necessity. However, there are some disadvantages that will also be there when compared to 4x2 drive. 4x2 drive. One is weight will be more, cost will be more, and fuel economy will be less, because weight of the vehicle increases means fuel consumption will be more, mileage will be less. Definitely, these are the obvious disadvantages. So therefore, much of the friction, traction losses will be there. Adding weight to the system means always losing out on the fuel economy, this one comfort. Maybe there may be necessity to add one more differential also at times in order to prevent torsional transmission wind up and excessive tires, okay, squeal and wear sometimes, so that it will add further to the cost and weight sometimes, not in all cases, in some extraordinary cases, high performance vehicles and so in order to minimize the torsional maybe vibrations that otherwise may be caused at the two axles, there may be another third differential may also have to be provided soon after the transfer case or the box. Additional transmission gearing and moving parts will provide more wearing parts. There is every chance of greater wear and tear. Cost will be high, to repair cost will be high, and fuel consumption therefore will definitely be high. That's why not for our ordinary day-to-day usage such things are preferred. Maybe in mining areas, heavy equipments such as earth moving equipments, tippers, loaders and all that, okay, there normally they will go for it, because they are very rough terrain on which our vehicle needs to be pulled, where of course even terrain may not be very smooth paved one. In such cases normally such type of drives, or in forest area operations, mining area operations, and in such cases of course these things will not matter much there. In such cases these are the ones which are preferred there. Okay. So I think we can close the session here with any grievances of you are there, and we will commence
Nothing, sir.
with some more topics, some more layouts in the next class. Any issues, any queries are there?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, then can we call off the session?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.